Hello, I'm Azortharion. In this video, I'll go over the new Dark Ranger hero talents for Beast Mastery and Marksmanship Hunter for the new War Within expansion. I'm going to share some of my thoughts and feedback on them, and I encourage you to share your own thoughts in the comments as well. So Dark Ranger is built around this Black Arrow ability. If you've played WoW a long time, you might recognize this ability name, though it doesn't really have much to do with the old Black Arrow. So Black Arrow is a 30-second cooldown that fires a Black Arrow into a single target, causing it to take shadow damage every 2 seconds for 16 seconds, so 8 ticks. Every time it deals damage, you have a chance to reset the cooldown of Aim Shot for Marksmanship or Barb Shot for Beast Mastery. So overall, this sounds pretty neat for Marksmanship, which is pretty strongly limited by Aim Shot charges. But for BM, I would say the fact that it reduces or resets the cooldown of Barb Shot feels a little bit lame, because we're already drowning in Barb Shots. And like regularly we're choosing to sit on 2 charges of Barb Shot as we're spamming kill commands in the way the game is currently laid out. So getting more Barb Shot charges doesn't really feel all that great in my opinion. Obviously Barb Shot charges contribute to, every single Barb Shot has a 50% chance of giving you a kill command charge. And you also generate the Bestial Wrath cooldown reduction, so it's nice, but the thing is we're already drowning in them, so it doesn't seem to, you're not going to be super excited when you get one of these procs. Not to mention that we already have another mechanic, Wild Call, in our talent tree that actually gives us Barb Shot resets. So now we're going to have 2 different sources of Barb Shot resets, an ability that we're already sort of drowning in and not really super excited about using compared to Kill Command. Meanwhile, for Marksmanship, Aim Shot is like a main signature ability, right? So I think there's a bit of a mismatch here in the power and how good it feels between the 2 specs. Barb Shot gets its sort of secondary, Beast Mastery gets its secondary ability out of these Black Arrow ticks, whereas Marksmanship gets its main ability in Aim Shot. Alright, the next row is, 3 choices here. Ranger's Finesse, very basic, just 15% damage to our basic main damaging abilities. Aim Shot, Rapid Fire for MM, and Barb Shot and Kill Command for BM, that's fine. Then Dark Hounds is a little bit interesting. So each time Black Arrow deals damage, so that's every 2 seconds, and you can imagine it's gonna have, it's a 30-second cooldown, it has a 16-second duration, so it's gonna have just north of 50% uptime if used perfectly on cooldown. And so you're gonna get basically 8 ticks every 30 seconds. So each time it deals damage, you have a chance, and we don't know what the chance is, to manifest an undead hound to charge your target and deal shadow damage. So it's not obvious if it charges in and then does an immediate bit of damage, or if it's like a dire beast that sort of charges in and then it exists for a few seconds and does some damage in that time. Overall, I mean, this is fine, but my main problem with it is that it's pure single target, so that's kind of a bummer, because generally strong class mechanics in this day and age in WoW, they affect both single target and AOE. And another thing is that it's just kind of passive and a little bit boring in my opinion. So, but it does fit the Dark Ranger theme obviously, and it fits the theme of summoning things, which is great for BM, but I'm not so sure about the Marksmanship, because Marksmanship is designed to be petless, and now we have this thing that's gonna summon this Dark Hounds regularly. It doesn't really seem to fit the Marksmanship theme that strongly in my opinion. Alright, going on to Death Shade here on the right. When you apply Black Arrow to a target, you gain a Death Blow or Hunter's Prey effect. Now, many of you will know what Death Blow is, but what's Hunter's Prey? Well, it's the same thing, but for Beast Mastery. So really what these effects mean is that when you apply Black Arrow to a target, you gain a kill shot charge that you can use on a target regardless of health. So what's gonna happen is, you get these 8 ticks every 30 seconds. Sometimes these ticks are gonna give you a kill shot that you can use for free. That's fine, but once again, Kill Shot is basically a pure single target ability, so we're very heavily leaning into pure single target here, which I'm not sure I love. So yeah, especially for BM, Kill Shot is just extremely weak. It's Kill Shot for Beast Mastery is so weak that at least in current, as I make this video in Dragonflight Season 3, we may not even like to use it. It's kind of whatever if you even use Kill Shot or not. You can pretty safely remove Kill Shot from your boss as a BM hunter. So yeah, this feels kind of weak. They would need to retune Kill Shot quite a lot for this to be interesting in terms of power. Alright, now we get to the first choice node of this Dark Ranger hero talent tree. So on the left hand side here we have one choice of either Dark Empowerment or Grave Reaper. Dark Empowerment is when Black Arrow resets the cooldown of an ability, gain 15 focus. So this is kind of neat for Marksmanship at least, but this is like a theme that's going on here, where things are kind of nice for Marksmanship, but maybe not so much for BM. So the problem with Marksmanship is that you're both limited by aim shot charges and focus required to use them. This choice basically ensures that you'll get a boost of focus whenever you get one of these procs that will give you a free aim shot, and so it will prevent you ever being caught out without the focus to spend the new aim shot charge you just generated. Now, an aim shot costs 35 focus, and this generates 15, so it's not a guarantee, but it's very unlikely that you're playing at such low focus that you're not gonna benefit from this. Okay, but for BM, so Barb Shot, the ability that Black Arrow can actually generate for us, does not even cost any focus. In fact, it generates focus in a sort of indirect way. So now we're drowning in these Barb Shot charges, and Black Arrow is gonna give us more Barb Shots that we don't really have the globals to use. And it's gonna give us more focus, but Barb Shot, the thing that Black Arrow generates, does not cost any focus. So once again, I feel like this would be so much better if Black Arrow gave us kill command charges instead, because at least kill commands cost focus. And a big part of playing BM is to generate focus, or like ensure that we have enough focus to cast kill command off cooldown. So if Black Arrow generated kill command charges instead, this Dark Empowerment thing would actually make a bit more sense, because it would ensure that you get this proc, bam, you can hit the kill command immediately, and that feels good. Whereas now it's gonna be like, oh, you get some focus that we don't need, because we're already like focus capping 10 to 15% at the time with perfect play, by the way. So extra focus is doing very little for us, because we're limited by kill command cooldown, not focus. So yeah, maybe this will be the pick for MM, but not BM. And that leads me to the next one, which is Grave Reaper. When a target affected by Black Arrow dies, the cooldown of Black Arrow is reduced by 12 seconds. So that's just under half of its cooldown. So this is obviously mainly useful in Mythic Plus. Like you kind of burst down a pack, you put Black Arrow on the highest HP target, but it dies quickly. Let's say it dies within 16 seconds, which is honestly kind of unlikely. But okay, let's say you're halfway through a pack that's lasting, 45 seconds, and you reapply Black Arrow to a high HP target, but the pack dies just before it ends. Then the cooldown is reduced by 12 seconds, and that basically ensures, like, what this mechanic ensures is that you will almost always have a Black Arrow for the prior target at the start of every pack in Mythic Plus. This is fine in terms of like gameplay, and like it's nice to not be left hanging without your cool new Black Arrow ability on every pack. The problem is that everything Black Arrow stands for, with the Dark Hounds and with the Death Shade, is single target. So like everything so far in this Dark Ranger tree has been very single target oriented, but then this seems to push us towards Mythic Plus. But like there's just nothing that's interesting or powerful about Black Arrow on AOE. So especially not for BM. For MM, there's a little bit, because aim shot charges you can ultimately try and get to do AOE damage with trick shots. But even on AOE, like we're not super hard limited by charges. We're actually a bit more limited by focus and resources and globals as Marksmanship in AOE, because not only do we have to get rid of our precise shot stacks every time, we also have to put up trick shots between every single aim shot and rapid fire. Now, our current set bonus kind of helps that, and we'll retain that in Season 4, but like, who knows what Season 1 of the War Within will be. So this, like, Grave Reaper just seems to go a bit counter to the design of the rest of the tree. And then Dark Empowerment is just a little bit middling for anything except Marksmanship. Alright, that leads me to the middle one. And now things are about to get interesting. This is what you're here for. So, Embrace the Shadows, this is not what you're here for. Embrace the Shadows is you heal for 15% of all shadow damage dealt by you or your pet. So this is just like essentially a kind of leech. Now, how much is all the shadow damage dealt by us or our pets? Well, it's nice that, that the Dark Hound damage will presumably heal us and not the pet. Although this is worth testing when this goes, on testing realms. Because it wouldn't surprise me if they forgot to change, like, a little bit of background. Pet leech, or this leech on a BM hunter, when your pet deals damage, it'll heal itself. So, it would be nice if this, like, was actually, like, you heal. It does say that, but, you can't always trust tooltips. That we heal for 15% of the damage done by you or your pets. This matters for BM. How much the shadow damage is, I don't really know. like this is just a complete guess based on like lots of experience and stuff of how like these sort of, let's say, borrowed power mechanics tend to work. It's not really borrowed power because it's ultimately a new feature, but I would be surprised if Black Arrow was more than like, I don't know, 7 to 8% of overall, and even that is a bit high. Dark Hound's maybe gonna add 2% or so. So maybe we'll do 10%, maybe 15% shadow damage, and then 15% of that is like, it's 1.5 to 2% and a bit leech, which is extremely weak, especially when we see what the next thing is. Smokescreen. Acceleration grants you 3 seconds of survival of the fittest. This is insanely broken. So acceleration obviously it's a 2-minute cooldown on paper, but in reality, because of the natural mending talent we run, every time we spend focus, we shave the cooldown of acceleration down. That means that we can use acceleration, it depends a bit on haste, how much focus you're generating and everything, but I've seen cooldowns as low as 30 seconds, like 45, 1 minute, usually under a minute cooldown for acceleration. And survival of the fittest with the nature's endurance talent is a 40% DR. So acceleration now becomes one of the strongest like big DRs in the game, plus it's a big heal. And it's gonna have on average a sub 1 minute cooldown. This is completely insane, really. Like Hunter will go from being known as relatively squishy to being quite tanky with this. And like even if this talent stopped here, if it was just this, that would be really, really good. But then it has an additional effect, which is sort of the inverse. So acceleration grants you 3 seconds of survival of the fittest. But survival of the fittest, which is our 2.5 minute cooldown, 40% DR, also activates acceleration at 50% effectiveness. So acceleration baseline is 30% of your max health. At 50% effectiveness, that's going to be a 15% max health heal. But it's not just that. This will need to be tested, but the question is, we have this talent called Rejuvenating Winds that causes acceleration to also give you a 20% max health healing over time effect after you've pressed acceleration. The question is, when Survival of the Fittest activates this weaker acceleration, will you get Rejuvenating Winds procs, and will you get them at 100% or 50% or 0% effectiveness? I don't know, but even if it did none of that, like even if the second half of this smokescreen talent did not exist, this would be an insane like boost to Hunter survivability. So big fan of smokescreen, and I mean, like, as it is now, you'll never ever ever pick Embrace the Shadows ever. All right. This one, Dark Chains is not a. It just looks a bit more PvP oriented to me. Let's see. Disengage will chain the closest target to the ground, causing them to move 40% slower until they move 8 yards away. So, I mean, it's hard to see much PvE use for this. Like, okay, so you'd go in, and it's also a single target. It just seems just PvP oriented to me, which is nothing wrong with, but it's just a bit of a filler to me. Not much to say. All right, here on the left side, when True Shot or Call of the Wild is active, so that at least indicates that they want us to keep using Call of the Wild as BM, which is nice, I suppose. Black Arrow deals damage 50% faster. Now, I'm not very good at math, but if you make so every 2 seconds, if you make that 50% faster, is that like, so it becomes 1.33 second tick rate? Or does it become a 1 second tick rate? Or 1.5 second? I just don't really know. You can tell me in the comments which it would be, because math, not my strong suit. But in any case, when True Shot or Call of the Wild is active, you're going to be generating more of these aim shot and barb shot resets. For marksmanship, this is kind of fine. Like, like in True Shot, we're already doing a lot of aim shots, but we could do more. Like, it would be cool if we could indefinitely spam aim shots and rapid fires instead of having to occasionally fill in with arcane shots, which is currently the case. So that part is neat. But for Call of the Wild, so Call of the Wild already does this. So every time you summon a pet with Call of the Wild, which is every 4 seconds, you generate 50% of a barb shot and kill command. So you getting extra barb shot procs during Call of the Wild when we're like mostly spamming kill command during Call of the Wild, it just doesn't, like, it's all part of the same bigger problem, which is that I strongly think that Black Arrow should be generating kill command charges and not barb shot charges. Because we're already drowning in barb shots that we don't really care for in Call of the Wild. And now Intense Darkness, this talent is just going to give us even more of that. And we're just going to be ignoring them and sitting on 2 charges of barb shot the whole time, spamming kill commands most of the time. So, yeah. it's okay for marksmanship, but bit of an L for BM, I would say. Alright, Shadow Surge. When multi-shot hits a target affected by Black Arrow, a burst of shadow energy erupts, dealing moderate shadow damage to all enemies near the target. Note that this doesn't appear to have a target cap. So this is pretty neat, I suppose. But it does say it can only occur every 6 seconds, so it'll be highly dependent on, how much moderate shadow damage actually is, and whether they do target cap it in the future. But, so BM obviously hits, there's actually a bit of a problem here for Beast Mastery, which is Beast Cleave, our maintenance AOE buff, lasts 6 seconds. But we don't actually want to press multi-shot every 6 seconds. We want to press multi-shot every 5.9 seconds. So I hope you're seeing the problem here. Optimally played Beast Mastery casts multi-shot just like a fraction of a second too often to actually proc this reliably. So now, assuming this does meaningful damage, the optimal play for Beast Mastery will be to activate Beast Cleave and then let it drop. Drop for very small amount of time, but more than 0, because we have to wait 6 seconds before we want to cast our next multi-shot, which is longer than the duration of Beast Cleave. And then we can hit our multi-shot and proc this again, because that's what you need to do to proc this every 6 seconds. So this is very easily fixed by just moving this occur only once every 6 seconds down to 5 seconds. Because as it is now, this would promote really it would feel really bad because we would optimal Beast Mastery plays either going to be dropping Beast Cleave intentionally so that we can get Shadow Surge procs on all of our multi-shots, or it's going to involve just ignoring it, which also feels bad, because then what's the point of even having this 6-second mechanic? Surely the point is to sort of keep a track of when your next multi-shot will proc Shadow Surge, and to maybe prioritize multi-shot a bit higher when it happens. So yeah, this absolutely needs to go down to 5 seconds and needs to work differently, because otherwise the BM gameplay will just be insanely degenerate. Now for marksmanship, it's totally fine. We're already casting a lot of multi-shot, and it does pretty good damage for marksmanship, not so much for BM. So yeah, no problems with it for marksmanship really. For BM, some thought needs to go into it. Another thing is about Beast Mastery, its multi-shot currently does almost no damage, it's extremely low. If this can help multi-shot feel like a bit more of a good button to press, that would be fine. But certainly second part needs some work. Alright, then we get to another choice note here on the right hand side. All shadow damage done by you and your pets is increased by 10%. So this kind of ties into what we talked about earlier with Embrace the Shadows. So how much is that going to be? Well, I would be surprised if it was more than 10%. So this can just be said to be maybe 1%, 1.5% pure damage done. Pretty boring, but maybe I'm wrong and it'll be stronger, but in any case, it's kind of boring, right? Because it's just flat shadow damage. Alright, Shadow Assassin. Killshot has a 15% chance to generate a charge of aim shot or barb shot when used on a target affected by Black Arrow. So this is a bit of an interesting one. I think it could go both ways, but let's just analyze this. So every time, because of Death Shade, when you apply Black Arrow to a target, so this is just when you apply it, you gain a kill shot. And then you will usually go Black Arrow into a kill shot if it does any damage for your spec, which it does for MM, not so much for BM, but we'll see about that. And then that kill shot has a 15% chance, which is pretty low to be fair, to generate a charge of aim shot or barb shot, which is the exact same thing that a Black Arrow tick could then generate. So you put up Black Arrow, which puts up a dot that will give a chance to reset the cooldown of aim shot or barb shot. So you put Black Arrow up, then you'll kill shot, because kill shot is a nice button to press. And then there's a chance that at that exact moment, you will also get a Black Arrow tick that generates an aim shot or barb shot. So it's possible that by playing in a sort of normally sensible manner, by casting kill shot when you can, you're gonna instantaneously generate 2 charges of barb shot, which is a button that, and I'm just rehashing this point, that we don't really like to press all that much, already drowning in barb shots. And then there's aim shot, which you may instantly generate 2 charges of, but aim shot is a long cast time that costs a hefty amount of focus that we have to generating 2 charges of aim shot instantly sucks, because there's no way we have enough time or enough focus to instantly get rid of both of them. Also because of precise shots, which requires us, or at least incentivizes us, to get rid of our precise shot stacks before hitting these aim shots. So I just don't really like Shadow Assassin. I mean, it's probably going to be decent for power, but the gameplay that it sort of suggests does not seem fun to me. Like, you can get good RNG, and it's going to feel terrible, especially for MM, because you're going to be stuck with all these aim shot charges that you don't know what to do with. And for BM, it all just feels terrible because it's giving us barb shots that we don't really care for. Alright, and that brings us to the very last, sort of the capstone node, which is when Black Arrow resets the cooldown of aim shot or barb shot, a barrage of dark arrows strikes your target for shadow damage and increase the damage you and your pets deal by 10% for 6 seconds. So this seems to set up a bit of a sort of damage window, but the problem is that, you know, when Black Arrow resets the cooldown of aim shot or barb shot, like, that is completely RNG, and it's not something we can even predict. So, because these things happen on a 2-second tick rate from Black Arrow, and we don't know if that scales with haste or not. I would assume not. So that's just gonna happen in the background. Randomly, you're going to get 10% damage done for 6 seconds. Which is, like, it's probably okay for power, assuming that it happens with some regularity. But it's not all that fun, because the windows are so short at 6 seconds, and because they're relatively weak, at 10%, like, that's not sort of a huge difference maker in terms of how you play. Just think of Death Chakram. Like, most people don't even know that Death Chakram actually increases all your other damage by 10%. They think it generates focus and does some damage on its own, but it also does this. Yeah, you're just not gonna be, like, playing around it in any way, even though it's sort of, like, it's too weak and too short for you to play around. It would be okay if it was short, if you knew that it was going to happen. But you don't know, like, these Black Arrow ticks are going to happen completely independently of the rest of your rotation. So I feel like something better could be done here. It could be stronger or longer or both. If they made it longer, they would probably have to make it weaker, but then it just becomes like flavor. Like 10% is already super low. Maybe it just needs a buff. I'm not really sure exactly what their, like, talent goal is here. So yeah, that's my feedback for the Dark Ranger hero talents for the War Within, for Marksmanship and Beast Mastery. As the other talents come out, so that would be Pack Leader and Sentinel, I'm gonna have a look at those as well. Please provide any feedback you have for me in the description below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and maybe check out my Patreon in the description below for some hunter coaching and extra info. Until next time, I wish everyone a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Goodbye.